Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out, episode 87. Hope you're all having a great weekend so far. We have a fantastic show planned for you this hour, so let me tell you who's coming up. In a moment from now, we're going to talk innovation with ASUS, the awesome title sponsor of Tech It Out. We'll catch up with Cecilia Choy, Director of Marketing for ASUS North America. We're also going to talk this hour with YouTube celebrity Molly Burke. She's the first blind YouTuber to hit 1.5 million subscribers. She now has 1.8 million. My daughter Maya is a huge fan of hers. Also this hour, we're going to talk dating in different languages and cultures when we chat with Babbel. That's the popular language learning app. And then finally, ESET will join us this hour. They're, of course, the cybersecurity experts to talk fraud protection and prevention. All of this on this week's Tech It Out. All right, let's jump into it. If you go to your local electronics store and walk up and down the aisles for a bit, especially in the computer section, you're going to notice a lot of the devices look the same, and your eyes are not playing tricks on you. Some laptop brands do understand, though, variety is important, whether it's in operating system choices or design and color and materials that they use. And of course, there are those companies that embrace innovation. And one company that to me gets it all right is ASUS. In fact, I'm recording this interview right now on my sleek, deep blue ASUS ZenBook laptop with gold lining. It's gorgeous. It weighs virtually nothing and has an all-day battery and a great touchscreen that bends back all the way into a tablet. Like, there's no trade-offs here. Joining us on the line to talk about ASUS innovation is Cecilia Choy. She's the Director of Marketing at ASUS for North America. Welcome back to the show, Cecilia. Always great to chat with you.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And as you could tell, I'm a fan of the brand. Innovation is the focus of our interview this time around. So talk to us about the ASUS numpad and the ScreenPad. I'd love to spend a lot of time on that during our chat today and the differences between these two innovations, numpad and ScreenPad.
Yeah, absolutely. So our latest ZenBooks, which is our premium line of laptops, feature our exclusive numpad and ScreenPad, which are both ASUS first-to-market technologies. So both technologies utilize the traditional touchpad on your laptop. So the numpad doubles as a digital numeric keypad, and the ScreenPad is a lot more sophisticated, and it's what we call an intelligent touchpad with a lot of handy apps that are available to you right at your fingertips.
All right. So the touchpad on a traditional laptop, including most of the ASUS ones, is simply used like a mouse. You run your fingertip along it, and it moves the cursor on the screen, and you can tap or double tap on these touchpads, and it serves as an integrated mouse instead of having to connect a mouse either wirelessly or with a USB port. So that's what a normal trackpad is, right? So a numpad is the same, but it also is a calculator. Could you explain that?
Yeah, so like I said, the numpad doubles as this digital numeric keypad, so it's right at your fingertips for convenient data entry and calculations, but it doesn't add any unnecessary width to the keyboard, and it can be turned on and off with a tap, so it's not a distraction when you're working on other projects that don't require a number pad. So it's a really smart feature that makes inputting numbers so much easier, so it's just more intuitive, if you will.
Right. Okay, got it. All right, so thanks for clarifying. It's not just about a calculator, but anytime you want to input numbers. I know that I've had people write me who read my articles, and they say, Mark, I want to buy a laptop with a separate number pad built into the laptop. Usually it's on the right side, because they do a lot of numeric entry. Maybe they're a bookkeeper or an accountant or something like that, right? So it's integrated into the trackpad of the laptop. It's like a little screen, right? But it's not color. It's just like a grayscale or black and white kind of number pad when you want it. That's the idea.
Right.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's the numpad. And then you said that there's ScreenPad. This is a color screen. Is it like a second screen?
Yeah, I mean, we think of it as more than just a second screen. We think of it as this intelligent touchpad because the ScreenPad is really neat, and it's really on the bleeding edge of innovation. So again, you have your traditional touchpad, but it doubles as a smart display. So the screen pad is customizable and it's interactive, and it adapts to whatever you're doing on your primary screen. So it features apps like a music player, calculator, calendar, and so much more. Or you can turn your screen pad into a secondary display, which is perfect for social media and email. So, for example, like if you're a student, you can get helpful and easy Microsoft Office shortcuts to help you navigate through your work. If you're a busy parent, you can keep up with everyone's activities and extracurriculars with the calendar app. If you're an entertainment lover, you can seamlessly control your movies and music with the YouTube and Spotify apps. And my personal favorite, if you're an exec or SMB owner, or maybe you're a young entrepreneur, you can quickly seal the deal and digitally sign PDF documents on the screen pad using the Adobe app.
Oh, I like
so that. I think there's really something for everyone, for their productivity apps, their entertainment apps. It's a really cool new feature that we're offering on our new ZenBook Pro 15 devices.
Okay, so the ZenBook Pro 15 is your flagship device that has the screen pad. So when that screen is off, it looks like a traditional trackpad, and it is. You can use your fingertip on it like a mouse. And then when you enable that screen, because I have seen this firsthand, you can choose the different applications, as you said, and you walked us through a bunch of different scenarios, some of which I didn't know about. So that was pretty cool about signing a document digitally on this screen pad. But you touched on other things, like you can control your music, you can double it as a second screen, but it is interactive. So thanks for clarifying that. It's not just a second screen like watching YouTube on the screen pad while you've got your spreadsheet open on your main laptop screen, a 15-inch screen. So thanks for clarifying that. So that's the ZenBook Pro 15. And then for pricing, our listeners can go to asus.com or their favorite consumer electronics store to find out about that. But that is more of a professional grade, more of a premium, let's call it, product, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of our higher end ZenBook laptops.
And then for the numpad, the first technology we talked about, where it doubles as a numeric input solution on the trackpad itself, that's available on what devices?
On the ZenBook 13 and 14.
Okay, so there's the ZenBook 13 and 14 has the numpad, and then the ZenBook Pro 15 has the screen pad with those extra features. That's kind of it in a nutshell, yeah?
Yes, and I mean, just to be more specific, the model number for the ZenBook 13 is the UX333, and then we have the UX433 for the 14. So those are the 13-inch ZenBook. It's the 13 and 14-inch ZenBook.
All right, so for those who want to Google that, that would be the right one to use. So you'll get specifically that model. And talk to us about these computers across the board, outside of the numpad and the screen pad. These have a fast processor, no doubt, beautiful touch screens. Are these regular laptops, or are they two-in-ones where you can, or convertible PCs where you can fold the back of the screen all the way to become a tablet, like what I've got with my model?
Yeah, these particular ones, the ScreenPad Pro 15 and the UX333 and UX433, the ZenBook 13 and 14 we just mentioned, those ones are the more traditional laptops. We definitely have flip options within the ZenBook family, but for right now, we've extended these features to these laptops exclusively. Okay,
cool. And again, you do have quite a selection. And on that note, we're talking, by the way, with Cecilia Choy, Director of Marketing at ASUS North America. Let's talk about a different operating system altogether. These have been Windows PCs we've been talking about, but now let's talk about the new Chromebook C434. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so for those looking for the latest and greatest Chromebook, we have the new ASUS Chromebook Flip C434 that we announced during CES back in January and will be available next month. So what we did is we took our best-selling, award-winning Chromebook Flip C302 and made it even better. So the C434 is a premium, ultra-portable 14-inch laptop featuring our Nano Edge design, which gives you a bigger screen without compromising the compact design. And as you can guess from its name, it functions as a two-in-one with its 360-degree hinge that allows it to moonlight as a tablet. So you can decide whether you want to use it as a laptop or as a tablet.
Cool, because I like that versatility of my laptop, of having both a laptop and a tablet in one device. So hence the name, the Chromebook Flip. It lets you do just that, but it runs the Chrome OS instead of Windows.
Yeah, definitely. It's super flexible for if you want to, you're just using it as a traditional laptop, or if you want to watch a movie, you can flip it into a tablet mode or into its tent mode, which is very helpful. But I think my favorite update on this Chromebook is that it has an all-aluminum brushed metal construction, which is really lightweight, and it really solidifies this device's premium design. And it has a 10-hour battery life to boot, so that's really great.
All right, so some of the Chromebooks that ASUS has are more of the entry-level variety, maybe for a student on a super tight budget, but this new Chromebook Flip C434 sounds like it's a bit more of a premium device.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and the best website, again, to learn about this is asus.com, ASUS.com, and should they search for Chromebook Flip C434?
Yeah, that's the model.
Okay. Awesome, Cecilia. I appreciate your time, and I always enjoy chatting with you. Thanks so much, Cecilia.
Thank you so much for having me, Mark.
Speaking of ASUS, as I mentioned off the top of the show, Tech It Out is powered by ASUS. Thank you for your support. ASUS creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, including its line of award-winning laptops, like we just heard about, those ZenBooks and the Chromebooks, desktops, monitors, smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, and much more. For those in search of incredible, visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's ASUS, ASUS.com/US/radio. We'll be right back with more Tech It Out.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Tech It Out, everyone. By now, you probably know about Babbel, the popular language learning platform and app. And for those on the dating scene, the company has developed a fun tool called the Babbel Date Prepper. It's a free international dating trainer designed to help you learn the lingo of your date, so you can impress with some words or phrases, as well as learn about cultural differences that you may want to know about. Well, joining us on the line, all the way from Berlin, where Babbel is based, we've got Claire Larkin with us. She's the English editor for the Babbel magazine. Welcome to the show, Claire. Willkommen, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Thanks for having me, Mark.
That says to the extent of my German, so thank you. Before we talk about the Babbel Date Prepper, please tell us a bit about Babbel.
So Babbel is the world's #1 language learning app. If you are learning from English, we offer 14 different languages, mostly in Europe, but a couple outside as well. Our most popular languages are Spanish and French. And we are particularly made by 150 different language experts and teachers that power our app and give us a bit of expertise.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of Babbel. I think you were one of the first, if I'm not mistaken, to offer an accessible language learning app, as well as before that, I think a PC-based platform. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But tell us some of the key differences, if you will, between Babbel and some of the other language learning tools out there.
Yeah, so Babbel is a premium service because we are made by experts. We really focus on conversation, so we really want you to get feeling comfortable with the language and actually being able to speak it. I mean, being able to, read a menu is nice, but actually being able to interact with locals and be yourself in a new language, I would say, is the most important part. Mm-hmm. We do this by having, on average, 10 to 15-minute lessons so that it really fits into your schedule. We really focus on conversations, and we really value the expertise and knowledge behind our brand.
All right, thank you. So now let's pivot and chat about this Babbel Date Prepper. I think it's a fantastic idea. Please tell us a bit about it.
So our didactics team is our language experts and teachers. They wanted to make something for Valentine's Day to kind of pump up specifically English speakers to have a leg up in the dating world. 79% of Canadians and 74% of Americans say that having a second language makes you more appealing, makes you sexier. So we wanted to play on this a little bit. It's a fun idea. And so not only does it give you some of the words and phrases to flirt confidently in a new language, but it also gives you some of the cultural insights. So, like a German will definitely ask you to split the bill. German men do not pick up the bill for their dates. And meanwhile, like the Spanish and the Portuguese, they have a more flexible relationship with time. So if they show up 30 minutes or even an hour late, don't take it personally.
Really? Okay, so let's assume you're American or Canadian for a moment. Yeah, if you're even 5 minutes late, it's considered rude. Yeah. So culturally, with some of these European dates, then if you're fashionably late, what does the other person do? Just sit there and have a cocktail while you're waiting for the other person, and it's all right?
Yeah, so when we built the Babbel Date Prepper, we used the knowledge inside Didactics and from the whole company to gather like a bunch of sources. We've got 600 people that work here. And so when I specifically was talking to a Frenchman, he was like, yeah, so when I meet my dates, we just kind of hope that we show up at the restaurant at somewhere between like 15 and 30 minutes late. You know, and then if we both end up there casually late, then it's fun and laid back.
All right. So it's not like the man is always late or the woman is always late. It's kind of mutually understood that, you know, when you meet at 7 p.m., that it's roughly 7 p.m. And you don't want to be there right on time because that looks, too eager, too desperate?
Yeah, I would say that it's just a cultural norm, you know, that time is quite flexible. And we also built the Babbel Date Prepper with diversity in mind. So the actual colleague that I was talking to, he is a gay man and he meets other men on dates. And so the Date Prepper itself has different language and gender combinations so that whatever kind of people you're interested in, whatever their nationality, it will suit your needs.
We're chatting with Claire Larkin. She's the English editor for the Babbel magazine. Babbel, of course, is a very popular language learning app and platform that teaches you in bite-sized lessons to master another language. We're talking about this free tool called the Babbel Date Prepper. So while Babbel is what Claire calls a premium service, and we'll get to pricing in a moment, the Date Prepper is completely free, and the website is, I believe, babbel.com/dating, and Babbel is how you spell Babbel. Before we wrap up, maybe you can share a couple of other maybe flirting tips for people with different languages or any other sort of etiquette do's and don'ts when it comes to different cultures.
So we've got lots of them here at Babbel. I would say that some really big name ones are for if you're going on a date with a Spanish or a French person, it's really important to scrub up, keep your looks up, be fresh. They're both very into fashion, so I would definitely keep an eye on the aesthetics.
All right, so no ripped T-shirts then, you're suggesting.
Or if you're going to go for a ripped T-shirt, do it really intentionally. A fashionable ripped T-shirt.
Oh, okay, there you go. All right, Claire, thank you so much for your time. Merci beaucoup. That was terrific. I know you're not French, but let's just say maybe my next date will be. My wife might have something to say about that. But anyways, thank you so much for your time. Pleasure. Thank you again.
All right.
All right, when we return on Tech It Out, we're going to catch up with Molly Burke. She is, of course, a famous YouTuber who is blind, and she'll talk to us about her challenges, but also how technology like smartphones and platforms like YouTube can also help her overcome them. So, very inspiring story, no doubt, when we return on Tech It Out. Stay with us.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. I'm super excited for this next interview, but probably not as much as my daughter Maya is, as she's a huge fan of my next guest. If you aren't familiar with Molly Burke, she's a YouTube star and motivational speaker who's been living without vision for 10 years. In fact, she was the first blind YouTuber to hit over 1.5 million subscribers. She currently has 1.8 million subscribers today. Molly is here to share her story of how she's helping to empower the next generation via technology to help achieve their goals despite any adversity they may face. Welcome to the show, Molly.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you.
Likewise. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on this part, Molly, but you do have a very moving video on your channel called The 10-Year Journey about losing your sight a decade ago and the impact that it had on you. If you don't mind, please give us a bit of background here. You were a teenager, so this wasn't from birth.
I was diagnosed with a disease called retinitis pigmentosa when I was 4 years old, and I ended up losing the majority of my vision back in 2008 when I was 14. The disease is called retinitis pigmentosa, but it was a very difficult journey, especially at the age of 14. You know, you're going through a lot of changes in your life, puberty, you're discovering yourself, you know, you're starting to have crushes and figure out your sense of style, and especially at that time, technology was starting to become a big thing, and it was very life-changing for me.
No doubt. So now let's fast forward and talk about how you became a YouTube star. This wasn't an overnight thing.
No, definitely not. And I think a lot of people get discouraged when they start a YouTube channel and they look at somebody like me who has 1.8 million and are like, oh, I'm never going to get there. Of course, I mean, it took me a year to hit 5,000 and another year to hit 10,000. So it's really about getting into to making videos for the right reason, for the passion, loving sharing your story or your message, whatever it is, and creating your own little community. It shouldn't be about the, quote, fame or fortune or whatever that kind of idea might be.
And you're so good on camera. I have to say, I watched a bunch of your videos, and you just really are charming and thoughtful in your delivery, and your content is rich. And I love how, even though you've got some deeper messages and all that, it's just so fun. Like your mom walked in the background of one of your shots and you're like, Mom, it's just so authentic. Do you think, Molly, that a legally blind person could be famous on TV, or do you need a platform like YouTube? In other words, if this was 50 years ago, do you think you would have seen this amount of success as you have now?
Absolutely not. YouTube has given me a space to carve my own path. And I think that's what social media has done for a lot of people that don't fit into the traditional entertainment framework. But I think we're getting there. I think because traditional entertainment is seeing the success of unique YouTubers like myself, it is opening their eyes in a sense and helping them to break down that barrier as well, which is really neat. So I think we're going to see a lot of changes over the next few years in representation in traditional media.
Love it. I love the inclusion. Talk to us about the tech that you use to help you in your daily life. Let's start with your smartphone, because that's obviously a big one for anyone today.
Absolutely. For me, technology is life-changing. Accessible technology helps level the playing field for me to live in a world where the most of it isn't made accessible. And so I'm really, really excited to have just switched from the Note 9 to the new Galaxy S10. So far, I'm absolutely loving it. I use a program called Voice Assistant, which Samsung has created for blind users like myself.
Oh, awesome. I was going to ask you about the accessibility features of these devices. So, like you, I went from a Note 9 to an S10 Plus, a Galaxy S10. But I know that these phones do have a lot of accessibility features. Can you give us a little bit more of a look at what this can do for you? Is it like a speech-to-text and a text-to-speech tool?
Yeah, so of course I use Bixby like a lot of people do. That helps me make all of my phone calls and stuff, but Voice Assistant pretty much allows me to do what anybody else would do on a phone. I just scan my finger over the screen, and whatever's underneath my finger, the phone reads out loud to me.
Amazing.
And then using a series of finger tapping techniques, I'm able to completely navigate the phone.
I love how Samsung's slogan and hashtag for this device, or this family of devices, is do what you can't. And I think that you're a perfect living example of that mindset, right?
That's absolutely why I love working with them. I love that message. I love it because so many of us grow up, especially when you're somebody like me who's a minority and living with a disability, you just end up feeling like you can't and like you shouldn't even try. But when such a huge brand like Samsung is saying, do it, do what you can't, do what you're told you shouldn't, and it is so empowering. So I love that I get to team up with them and share that message through my social platforms.
We're chatting with the lovely Molly Burke, a famous YouTuber with almost 1.8 million subscribers. Molly inspires her viewers with her outlook on life, as she has herself had to overcome her blindness in order to find happiness, and the success followed. We're talking about the role technology can play here as a tool to help anyone. What, Molly, are the different ways that you motivate your many followers to find happiness in their lives, regardless of the challenges that they face?
I think my biggest message is acceptance, and that's not seeking acceptance of other people, it's seeking the acceptance of yourself. Because for me, once I learned to just love and accept who and how I am, the whole world opened up. I opened myself up to new opportunities and experiences and just threw myself into making the most of the life I've got.
Love it. Finally, what's next for you? I know that those listening, the many fans that you have, are eager to know what's next. Is it hopefully to continue creating compelling content on YouTube? But what else? I think you're, as I mentioned off the top, you're also a motivational speaker, and I can see why.
I am. Yeah, I honestly, whenever people are like, what's next for you? I'm like, what isn't next? Sky's the limit, dream big. The worst that can happen is it doesn't happen. So might as well go for it and give it a try.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time, Molly. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. All the best in your continued success. And thank you again for chatting with us.
Thanks so much.
We'll be back shortly with more Tech It Out, but first a thank you to ASUS, the title sponsor on the show. Tech It Out, creating technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. Visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. We'll be back shortly with more Tech It Out when we catch up with ESET's Tony Anscombe. He's a global ambassador for the brand. He's going to tell us what we need to do in order to protect ourselves in the digital age. There's probably some things you're doing, right? Like antivirus and maybe a couple of common sense things like not clicking on an attachment, but there's a lot more you can do, and you don't need a degree in computer engineering to figure it out. We'll be right back with more Tech It Out.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
You're listening to Tech It Out on the Radio American Network. March is Fraud Prevention Month, so what better time to get a reminder about how to stay safe and secure in the digital age? And the good news is you don't need a degree in computer science to protect yourself, your data, and your devices. Joining us on the line to chat is cybersecurity veteran and global ESET ambassador, Tony Anscombe. Welcome back to the show, Tony.
Hi, Mark. It's great to be back here.
I think the last time we talked, we were both in Estonia. We were in Tallinn a year and a half ago talking cybersecurity, so it's been a while. I'm glad to see you doing well. I follow you on social media. Before we tackle this topic of fraud prevention and cybersecurity, please tell our listeners a bit about yourself.
Oh, so I've been in the cybersecurity industry for about 25 years, Mark. And the last 10 to 12 of those more focused on the consumer market. And very much on fraud prevention, child safety, and topics like that.
So it is timely with Fraud Prevention Month upon us in March. So it's a good time to check in on your cybersecurity best practices. Before we get to how to best protect ourselves, what are some of the biggest threats out there today? Maybe some ones that have been around for a couple of years and perhaps some new ones. What do we need to know about?
Well, one of the biggest ones is still phishing. So, where you get that email, it's got some link in it. It takes you to a store and tries to either get your credentials or it's taking you to some fake store. That still has to be the number one out there because they tempt us with some unbelievable offer or they tempt us with some video or content. And people are curious. People go click on those links.
So this is often called social engineering, I guess, instead of it being a technical problem with your laptop where you don't have antivirus or anything like that, but you are the ones who let the bad guys in unknowingly, unwittingly, have fallen for what looks to be an authentic email or text message or website. And then there's also phone calls, like old-fashioned, people calling and saying, hey, I'm with Microsoft. I need you to do this with your computer. And then they get you that way.
Absolutely. Those support phone calls, and they're very convincing. I held one on the line one day that called my home. I held them on the line for 15 minutes, and then I told them I had a Mac, which was highly amusing because they thought telling me a Windows problem. But the number one thing that consumers can do, Mark, is have up-to-date security software like ESET or another antivirus product, whatever it is they're going to run out there. Have it up to date. It does protect from phishing links. It does protect from most of these scams. However, education is number one for any consumer.
All right, so phishing scams, and that's phishing, are still one of the ones that we need to watch out for. But there are also traditional viruses and worms that we may get. Is that just, or is that not a thing anymore? You're the expert. I'd love to know if that is still a thing, or is it more common sense than software related?
No, that absolutely is still a thing, and in fact, the number 2 threat out there is for somebody trying to use the resources of your machine. So cryptojacking, we hear a lot about cryptocurrencies. That it's the way they generate cryptocurrencies uses a lot of computing resource. So one of the viruses out there is to actually use the resources of consumers' desktops or laptops.
And how do we know if we're a victim of a crypto scam like that?
Well, that's the bad part. You may not know because somebody will be using those resources in background, and it's kind of hidden, which is why cyber criminals like this particular type of infection. However, good antivirus software, as I said, like ESET, would actually block this, whether it's web-based or whether it's a more traditional virus and application-based.
I'm a user of ESET as well, and I love that it has flagged some issues over the years where I didn't realize somebody was trying to have access to my computer unbeknownst to me, and it stopped them, and it alerted me to that. And then on the contrary, if I was about to share information with an unknown source, I think I was going to upload something to a website, it also stepped in and said, whoa, 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 kind of thing, right? Potentially opening yourself up to risk here. So I love that ESET runs very quietly in the background. You don't know that it's there until you need to.
Absolutely. And it's, with any cybersecurity product, it's a difficult balance. A consumer wants to know that they're protected, but they actually don't want to interact with the product too much. So it's a really, really fine balance of only telling you that when absolutely necessary.
Mm-hmm. Talk to us a bit about ransomware. I know this is also tied to phishing, but explain to us, please, what this is.
Well, so ransomware is in today's environment, and I say that because it's actually quite an old type of attack. In today's environment is where you've clicked on something or somebody bad has managed to get something on your machine using a vulnerability on your machine, and they've encrypted your data. So they've encrypted your photographs, your spreadsheets, your whatever it is you store on your machine. And they'll display a box and lock the machine and turn and say, you pass 50 bitcoins or 5 bitcoins or whatever it might be, and we'll unlock your machine. Now, don't pay. Firstly, there's a lot of badly written cryptography by these people out there. You can often find a decryptor. We have lots of those on our website, eset.com, where you can actually decrypt. You don't want to fund cybercrime, which is kind of point number 2. But if you run up-to-date antivirus software, there's a good chance that you're not going to be infected to start with, and especially if you're cautious about what you click on.
Wow, interesting. We'll be back momentarily with Tony Anscombe to continue our chat. Considering it's Fraud Prevention Month, he's got some timely tips for us to protect our data and our devices in the digital age. Wow, talk about alliteration. Tony, of course, is a cybersecurity expert, a seasoned one, and he's also global ambassador for ESET. So hang tight. More Tech It Out coming up when we continue that talk on cybersecurity. We'll be right back.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
We're chatting, by the way, with Tony Anscombe. He is a cybersecurity veteran and ESET's global ambassador, ESET being an award-winning anti-malware malicious software tool used in over 200 countries and territories around the world. There's another scam going around right now, Tony, that you may have heard about, sex-related ransomware, where it says, hey, we've got videos of you through your webcam doing what you do when you're visiting those sites. And if you don't pay us some cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, we're going to share this to all of your contacts. Have you heard of this one? I mean, it seems to be pretty prevalent these days.
I have heard of that. You pick up another good point here. If for them to have actually accessed your webcam, is that possible? Potentially, yes. which is why actually in our products we have webcam protection. So we actually lock that entire piece down, so applications that aren't authorized to use your webcam can't. So it actually stops them from doing things like that.
Second last question. How important is it to protect your mobile device in today's day and age?
Well, I think a lot of people let their guard down on their mobile device because it's kind of secure, it's in your pocket, and I think you have a different relationship with it. And it doesn't have the same legacy of knowing we all know viruses hit PCs, etc. But it should be protected. There is more personal data on your mobile device than there probably is on your PC.
Great point.
And it also becomes your payment method. So it's linked to your bank accounts. It's got subscription models in it with the carrier. So it's actually a much richer device for a cyber criminal to come after. So you should have good protection on the mobile device as well.
Especially Android, if I'm not mistaken. It's a little bit more of an open source platform, a little bit more vulnerable to the bad guys than iOS. Is that fair?
That is fair. However, we often get asked that question of what about iOS? We should be really cautious on iOS as well as users. If somebody sends you a text message, Mark, or a link in an email, and you click it, and they're phishing for your credentials, that phishing still happens whether it's on iOS or whether it's on Android. Yeah. So you should be really, really cautious on both platforms.
I know ESET has an app for Android. Do they have one for iOS?
We don't have one for iOS, but the one for Android covers a number of other issues as well. So, for example, you can do anti-theft, you can lock the device if it's stolen, you can wipe it, etc. So there's a whole host of other cybersecurity features in there as well to protect you.
Yeah, and on that note, again, anecdotally, ESET stopped me from downloading an app that had a Trojan in it. So I use Android, and I was about to download an app that had a hidden, piece of malware inside of it, malicious software that was purported to upload data. And so ESET said, hey, this is a known issue with this developer. So again, they also protect you in your favorite app store.
Absolutely. One thing we have seen recently is apps that purport to do one thing when in reality they're watching what you're doing. When you go to your banking app, what they do is they overlay the screen and try and get you to input your credentials into their app as opposed to the banking app that you tried to start. So you need to, download apps from the official Play Store. That's a great piece of advice there to start with. But also make sure you've got something that's scanning those apps independently to look to see whether they're malicious.
Finally, Tony, if you're about to get rid of a PC that you no longer want, and whether you're donating it to a charity or a hand-me-down to a family member, or actually trading it in towards a new device, what are some tips to protecting the data that you think you deleted properly from that hard drive?
Well, this is can be a very complex subject. There are some pieces of software on the market that will actually, in effect, overwrite again, so that somebody can't undelete what was deleted. Because if you just delete it, we all know it's in the trash can. Somebody will go into the PC, get it out the trash can, and they've got the data that you had. But if it's overwritten, then it's much, much harder to actually get that data back. If you're confused by doing this, or if you don't know how to do this, take it to an expert. Take it, for the few dollars it will cost you not to have your identity stolen, take it to an expert that will actually clean the device correctly.
Great advice, Tony. I really appreciate your time. Tony Anscombe from ESET. The best website to learn more is either ESET.com, ESET.com, or WeLiveSecurity.com as well, correct?
Absolutely.
Thanks, Tony. All the best.
All right. Good to talk to you, Mark.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's Tech It Out show. We spoke with Babbel about language differences and cultural differences when it comes to dating. We spoke with Molly Burke, the celebrity YouTuber. Tony Anscombe from ESET spoke with us about cybersecurity. And we talked with Cecilia Choy from ASUS about laptop innovation. Speaking of ASUS, a big thank you to my sponsor, ASUS. For those in search of incredible, ASUS creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. Visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone. Speak with you next time on Tech It Out. Bye-bye for now.